Jus Riffin. Tuesday night, 8:30 EST. Know where we be. Jus Riffin. Special guest and tech and talk. A musicology. Jus Riffin. Coming to you live at the same time. Here every week. Jus Riffin. Jump in the room. Let's chop it up. It really ain't that deep. Jus Riffin.
That's right, y'all. Jus Riffin. Another Tuesday night, February 4th. I can't believe how much and fast time flies. I'm one of your hosts, Hefner. I got Cookie Rabinowitz in the building. He's the co-host, or I'm his co-host with the most. Whichever way you look at it, we flip-flop, we do our thing, and we're going to bridge the gap soon with this Web 2, Web 3 music. That I could tell you, ladies and gentlemen. We have an awesome guest on our show tonight, Loxley Fernandes. So I'm excited to bring him on with us tonight. Cookie, how you feeling?
I feel really good. I'm really psyched and stoked and all that stuff about having Loxley on the show. It's going to be a really fun talk. I love your hat, Hef. I love you.
That's right. Love you too, man. We're staying wrecked, bro. So yeah, like I was saying, Bureau, we're going to be diving deep. You know, we're going to dive into this Web3 media thing. There's a whole bunch of shit like engagement, prediction markets. So the CEO of Rug Radio, Decrypt Media, and Media Markets is here with us tonight. These are interconnected platforms. They play a unique role, Cookie.
I like it. I like the role. I mean, from back in the Rug Radio inception, who would have thought that this stuff would have all started building up to this? I'll tell you who would have thought. I would have thought, because I'm a believer.
That's right. I'm a believer too. I mean, look, honestly, we are believers. That's why we're fucking here, quite honestly. We'll bleep that out later. Don't worry. That will come out in the edit for sure. So yeah, Rug Radio, man, they've been like, honestly, forever growing. And just it's amazing what they've been doing in the space, you know? And so I hope that we can continue on with Rug Radio. And I hope that we can help maybe bridge the gap there with that music part, you know, where the radio aspect comes in, you know? How you feeling?
For sure. No, I agree 100%. You know, I actually saw a post on X a couple weeks ago Farouk made about, he was talking about just it being like a network, like you were saying, kind of like that, like a media network. And that's kind of aligned with what you've been saying. So I think that's pretty cool. Like, I think this stuff is all building up into a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's just amazing because, you know, the beautiful thing about it is, like you said, we would have never known that it would be here, but all of the pieces of the puzzle, the Myriad family, the Decrypt family, the Rug Radio family, everybody coming together and creating something is you know, seeing the potential in that and then building just incredible from where they started. You know, the awesome thing for me, I can't speak for you, but the awesome thing for me is being able to see an actual business being built, like something that I invested in the sense of buying the NFTs and invested time in listening and just being there, you know, for everybody that's part of that Rug Radio fam, because I really feel passionate about it, you know, and you know, I have a strong conviction with them, and I really feel like it's just amazing that they are where they are and where they've been, you know, where they've come from. So that's my one too. I'm excited to get into it.
Sure. You know, yeah. I mean, yeah, I was just gonna chime in that, like, when I first came into this space, and I was already listening to the GM Web3 and all that stuff, and I loved it. But when I was trying to learn about the space, I would do some Googling, and then this was before Chat GPT. You know, I would do some Googling, and anytime I found an informative article, it would be a Decrypt article. I'd be like, oh, here's this publication Decrypt, and that's where I would usually end up finding some good stuff. And it's just wild to see that came together with these guys that just started this show that was very loose and fun, very smart and informative, but it was just kind of a wild ride, a morning show. And then to see them kind of interact and eventually merger with this company that was distributing this real straight media that was actually educating me on my journey into this space. So it's really cool.
100%. So, and if nobody knows Decrypt Media, they're a next generation media company. Basically what they do is they bridge the gap between the mainstream audiences and Web3. So the Web 2 and Web3 people, trying to get them in there. And they, like you said, you know, they're providing insightful content, you know, and it's powered now by Myriad Markets, which is excited to talk about that too. That's the next evolution in Rug Radio. and Decrypt Media, right?
For sure, for sure. But let's not put the I don't know. I was gonna say I don't even know what I was gonna say. But let's
What are you gonna
what
say?
do we got? What,
It didn't work.
yeah, I'll think of it. I'll remember it later.
I'm playing. That's right. So Myriad Markets. So I'm excited about that because that is, and I think a lot of people are really excited about Myriad Markets. Like we've spoken about it several times on our show. We've had people from the audience come up and talk about it that are we're part of the beta. And, I think it's a unique situation, like that's why I say like that evolution, like where do you turn? Where do you go? Right? Like where do you go next from here? I know they just started Myriad Markets and things are building and brewing, but like there's gonna, like when it gets to whatever is next, they're gonna be there in the front. They're gonna be there. They're the ones that are gonna be, they're creating that path, I believe.
Right on. I agree. I'm very excited for the future. And it's
Super.
stuff that we, regardless of even it's bigger than blockchain technology, really. It's utilizing blockchain technology, but it's fixing systems that maybe could use a little bit of massaging that aren't really operating in the most efficient way. So I'm here for it.
That's right. I think this is just where, you got a huge team, everyone put their thoughts together and they're building. So I think that's far beyond, I think a normal people's comprehension in the sense of when they're building a company. This is just a lot of smart brains, Speaking of smart brains, we have 2 new segments today. All right. So I want to give you the honor first, because yours is super dope. And I'm going to try to come after that, like I'm going to challenge myself. They say like, you don't want to go on after them in certain cities because, like, I don't know if you ever heard this before, but I'm going to give you the honors because yours is super dope. So let me get to it because it's all new for us.
I think you're giving it too much accolades, but it was definitely fun throwing it together, and it was something new for me to do. And it's definitely a little lo-fi, but and so am I. So
yeah, bro, this is super dope. So we were talking about this. It was just something that kind of spontaneously came about, just like our show. And it's something that I would always say to Cookie, I'd be like, "What's cooking? What's cooking, Cookie?" And so we came up with this segment called "Cooking with Cookie." And this is the first one. So I hope you guys enjoy and listen. There's going to be many more to come. We're not doing them every week. It takes a lot of time to do them, but we're going to have different segments, just FYI, throughout our shows for the month. So hopefully you enjoy this and the ones that we will have continuing on. Check this out, everybody.
Welcome to the very first Cooking with Cookie. I'm Cookie Rabinowitz, a singer-songwriter, rug radio jingleologist, and the dumber half of Jus Riffin. I love experimenting with the new music gear, tech, and tools to cook up inspiration and a creative meat-based sauce.
That's Italian.
Today we're firing up the Ableton Move, a newish standalone sampler that makes it easy to capture ideas and build beats on the fly. So what's the Ableton Move? It's a newish standalone sampler, basically a mini Ableton in a box. No laptop necessary. It's got built-in sounds, drum pads, a sequencer, and lets you chop samples on the fly.
If you have the bandwidth, don't fade it.
Plus, it runs on a rechargeable lithium battery for up to 4 hours or however long it takes before it becomes future landfill material. It's got 4 tracks. For this video, I took the first track here and I used one of its internal drum kits. I used this for a bass track. Track 3, it's got this cool little... It's a theremin whistle, actually. They're pretty cool. I don't know if you ever saw one of those things. It's where the guy moves his hand like this around the little metal piece, his little hand. Woo, woo, yeah, like that. For the other track, I used its sampling feature, which is really easy. You just push record and you can dump in any sounds. I took a podcast clip from our guest, Loxley, his voice clip.
If you have the bandwidth, don't fade it.
And I also took the Jus Riffin tag.
Jus Riffin.
And also our rug radio tag.
Rug radio.
All right, let's mix it all up in a pot and see what we got.
If you have the bandwidth, don't fade it.
Jus Riffin. Rug radio.
Don't fade it.
All right. Ableton Move. More expensive than a harmonica, but less expensive than a crack addiction. Cooking with Cookie. Signing out.
Jus Riffin.
Bro, that was so clean. So clean. And we spoke about that instrument actually on the show not too long ago, and super dope. Dope setup, by the way. And great job on the video, man. 100%. You killed it.
Thanks. I just want to chime in really quick. You know, obviously we don't have any kind of sponsorship or anything from Ableton, but I've been using the software Ableton for years, and this little piece they made, it's very cost effective. It's standalone, and I sold a bunch of old shit I wasn't using on Reverb. It's a cool site, and what I got this thing for anyway, it's invaluable. I'm going to be making a lot of pieces on it, and it's really exciting. And if anybody digs beat production or making music or just fucking around and finding out, I would definitely suggest checking this thing out. I think it's around $400. Super
inexpensive to have fun and just get loose. You know what I mean? Like, you really did a great job on that, man. Awesome. So I have a segment also that I'm going to be doing, and we're going to debut these two. We're just going to kind of run through them real quick for you guys. And my segment is called Sound Check.
Check 1, 2, 2. Hefner's gonna bless the mic. Sound check. Hey, 2, hey. Riffin on a Tuesday night. Sound check.
Sound check, dude. Another dude. You're just killing them with these fucking things, man. So basically, sound check. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be celebrating music icons, people that we like. Musicians that we know, maybe some musicians that we don't know. I'm going to pick one every once in a while, and we're going to do a little segment on them, and we're going to talk about them and bring light to that particular artist. So this week, this is going to be Chaka Khan, and I have an actual cool Chaka Khan story. Pardon me. I'll run through it briefly here if I can. It's kind of a cool story. So every Tuesday night, when I was living in Los Angeles. Let me go back. I was living in Los Angeles for about 25 years, and I was in a band, and we played with many other bands. So every Tuesday night, we would all get together. Members from different bands would all get together, and we would just jam out, improvise at a place called Peanuts. Now the front was a club, dance, pop music, rap music, whatever. Like, you know, people getting down in there. And then in the back room, that would be just us, live musicians. I mean, we would have various people, man. Prince was there one night. Queen Latifah was on stage rapping with me. Like, you never knew who was going to kind of show up, but people were there. It was weird. People from Fishbone and like other bands, like it would be just awesome. So this one night I was playing percussion, playing conga, and I was also on the mic every once in a while, dropping some bars. And so I'm taking a break, and I'm like, you know, making a beeline for the other room just to kind of check it out, see what's going on, what the vibes going on there. And as I'm like walking through this room, I see Chaka Khan, and I'm like, holy fuck, that's fucking in my head, like Chaka Khan. I just kept it cool and just kept going, got to the main room. And the whole time I'm like, dude, how do I figure out how to ask her up? How do I figure out how to ask her if she wants to come and jam with us? I'm like, you know, it's fucking Chaka. Like, and we've had other people come up with us, but I was kind of like nervous, not gonna lie, you know? And so I was, you know, walking back, and I just was like, walked up. I was like, Chaka Khan, you're amazing. I just want to know, you know, you want to come up and jam with us? And she was like, sure, honey, you know? And I was like, what the fuck? And so we just go up, and, you know, like, again, this is not like, you know, where the band is like playing, you know, cover songs. It was all improvised. Whatever was going on, we were just jamming back there. And so she's like singing along with everything. And then she turns to me, and I'm playing conga, and I'm like dying because it's like Chaka Khan's like right there, and I'm playing congas, and she's like right there. And she turns to me, and she's like, can I get on the drums? And I'm like, in my head going, yeah. Like, well, in my head, I'm going, what? Drums? I was like, yeah, of course you can get on the drums. Of course. Not knowing anything. And this, I don't know how many years ago. This is definitely over 10 years ago. And just recently, she's all over the place. Like, you know, you see her on Instagram or wherever, and she's playing drums. And I'm like, yes, it wasn't bullshit. It was legit, you know? And I just can't believe it. So I wanted to showcase Chaka. This is a lady who's like amazing. Like, just was in the group Rufus, and who knew that she played drums, percussion, bass. You know, she wrote like hit songs with Tony Mating. You know who that is, right?
Oh yeah, Iron Maiden's cousin, I think that is, right?
Yeah, dude. Iron Maiden. He was the guitar player for this band called Rufus. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, just amazing, dude. 10 Grammys, 100 million plus records sold. She's in the Hall of Fame 2023. Like, I don't know, man, inspired generations of people. So I want to give Shaka the light, and I want to, share this with everybody. It's Shaka Khan playing drums in 1974. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm going to make it big. Shaka Khan, Getting Loose. Getting down. Amazing, right?
Awesome. Ain't nobody does it better.
Ain't nobody does it better.
So cool though, man. Such a beautiful woman too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the story gets crazier too. I'm going to end it with this. I was on a flight maybe 2 or 3 years after that event, and her and I were on the same flight. And I said, "What's up?" to her on the way off the plane. Yeah, we were actually in the walking through the airport, and yeah, that was a fun moment, dude. I don't know, felt very blessed and grateful that I was able to share that moment.
That's an awesome story. I just want to chime in. It's funny because you gave an abbreviated version of that story a couple months ago on the show, and out of nowhere, I started seeing these drum clips like you were just saying, and I was like, man, Hef told us this story on the show like a couple months ago, and I really never. I mean, I love Chaka Khan. I love all the music, Rufus. I love all the music, but I really never dug in deep enough to know she played drums and all that. And you told us that story, and I was like, wow. And now that clip's going viral, I was like, I kind of feel like I was on the inside. I don't know. I got some alpha. I don't know.
You got the alpha, the Shaka Khan alpha. And the crazy thing too is okay, so I remember because there was a point, if nobody knows Rufus, the band Rufus, if you don't, go back and listen. There's 70s funk era, and Shaka was the singer. But the reason why the group broke up, and Shaka was the vocal. She was the main, vocal there. But they broke up because she was feuding with the drummer. Go figure. And so that's how she ended up becoming Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. Okay. Shaka.
Very cool. Yo, just a fun fact. Tell Me Something Good, Rufus. Everybody knows that song. Tell Me Something Good. Stevie Wonder wrote that song. I don't know. That's a great song. Check it out. It's very intricate timing that you don't really know by listening to it. But when you actually play with the band, you're like, fuck, this ain't what I thought it was. It's a little deeper than that. But
yeah, Shaka Khan. So everyone go check out Shaka Khan. Go check out Rufus. Do it. You will not regret it. Okay. Now, for the man of the hour, I want to introduce the CEO of Rug Radio, Decrypt Media, Myriad Markets, Destan, Loxley Fernandes. We're going to get into it with him. Welcome to the stage, Loxley. How you feeling? How you doing? What's cooking?
Good, man. You just made me realize that I have too many jobs.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, how do you do it? How does he do it?
He's got a family too. I mean,
very painfully. Yeah, very painfully.
How do you do it? Because you're the CEO of 3 or 4, or is it you're the CEO of one company and then everything's under that umbrella?
Yeah. So the way we've organized it now is Dastan, the parent company, now is we have the subsidiary brands, Decrypt, Rug Radio, Myriad, and we also now own Dgens. I don't know if you guys remember that little bit that we dropped there. So we acquired Dgens from the Canary team. Really a lot of good stuff coming in the future for that platform. We also have Lucky Trader, which Tyler D and Logan Hitchcock we're doing with Peter Jennings, and Mark Cuban was an investor over there. A bunch of big players, huge media attention that these guys garnered early in 2020 2021 era, when a lot of the top trader and a lot of the sports or not top trader, the Top Shot, and a lot of the sports based NFT platforms were really popular at the time. So we've pulled all of those in, have all these different subsidiary brands under the Duston umbrella. The good news is that we get to consolidate a lot of our efforts and kind of play the shared economy in administration and operation of those entities. And then really they maintain their independent voice and journalistic brand identities, because each of those entities operates with a relatively independent and autonomous media arm. So we get to help with organization and monetization and payroll and all of that stuff, but we really don't touch, or at least I don't touch anything relative to the media. We give them the freedom to continue to run the brands the way that they see fit.
100%. How is it like? How is your job? Are you juggling a lot? Are you putting, where do you put the most effort? I know Myriad Markets is new now, but where is the main focus? Because you do have these other entities, and then I kind of like how they all kind of fit together. But I want to know where you focus.
Yeah. So my job ultimately across the health of the entire ecosystem, my job is to hire people who are better and smarter than I am, that we can delegate to. And it's really, being this is a tough analogy, but being a foreman of a cattle ranch, right? Like, you got cowboys out there who are wrangling cattle, and you also have, feed production. You got people out there pulling hay in. You have a lot of times alternative resources like oilmen running on your land, and ultimately you just got to make sure that everybody's happy, everyone has the resources that they need. The reality is, our business, when you look at media as a business, it's a good linear growth model if you can nail a few things down really well, and that is, how do you commercialize? How do you find or create renewable inventory? In some places it's really hard. You guys run a show, exactly week over week, it's like, what do we talk about this week, right? You can imagine with companies like Decrypt that are running journalism in a bearish market, it's sometimes hard to find stuff to talk about relative to crypto in a bear market, right? In a bull market like we have right now, there's 25 different articles a day that are very easy. I mean, there's 50 articles a day, and we have to pick which 25 to write. It's not always that way. Oh, lost the audio.
Sorry about that. I had it on mute. So Decrypt Media is AI, right? It's based off AI. Isn't there slogan something with AI, or am I incorrect here? Decrypt Media, backed by AI. I could have sworn I saw it was backed by AI.
No, the only places that we use AI, so all of our content, all of our journalism is real human editors and journalists writing. The only AI that we use on the Decrypt side specifically is we do have a news explorer, and we are aggregating news from all over the internet. And we don't distribute it on Decrypt, but we have a very specific tool that feeds into Myriad Markets now, and that feature will come live soon. We use AI to optimize in research and in all of that, but unfortunately, and I say fortunately for quality, but unfortunately for cost, it's a very human endeavor.
Okay, good. Yeah, I must be mistaken, because I swore I read something, maybe it was a while ago, not lately, but that's what I wanted to know. But that's cool that you actually guys do use some AI in there, because that's where we're at, where the tech is here. Yeah.
Yeah. And really, the biggest things on the journalism and decrypted media side is how do you pull in information from all over the internet and optimize for distribution, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's these AI tools are getting pretty good.
With Decrypt Media, how do you guys know what to write? how are you getting that info that fast and way ahead of everybody else? And then what do you figure what's the best to write? I know you were mentioned 50 and then 25, but so how do you narrow that down?
So at Decrypt, we have so our editor in chief, Guillermo, incredibly talented. He's running the cowboys who are out there, wrangling the cattle. The news and the events are all the cattle that are out that are out, in free range that they're trying to bring back to the pens. We have a number of incredible editors that work under Guillermo, and journalists as well. So everyone from Andrew Hayward to Ryan Gladwin, and then we have quite a few. Liz Napolitano, who has done a lot of investigative journalism historically and has made a really great name for herself, who are constantly digging scoops and trying to find information out on the internet. We do have at Decrypt a tip line where anytime someone hears something that may happen, it's like they drop in tips and then the investigation starts, right? It's like, okay, let's dig deeper. Let's find some sources. Let's figure out what this happens. We also have an amazing group of freelancers who are constantly pitching us stories that they want to write. And these are people that, like all of our journalists, all have advanced degrees in journalism, and they have tons of experience. And ultimately, it's the job of the editors to say, okay, these are contextually relevant. We know, and of course, like our editorial team has stand-ups on a daily basis where they understand the trends of what is not only important information, but also what is going to garner the eyeballs, right? So that's a tough balance that the editorial team has to make. Is we want to deliver good, truthful, honest information, but we also want it to be entertaining. There's a lot of good information out there that no one really cares to read, so you have to prioritize that.
One thing I wanted to ask here, and then I'm going to pass this to Cookie because I know he has some questions as well. With Decrypt and then also with Myriad Markets, but Decrypt, will there be, or is there even a use for it? I would think so, but will there be a section for music, entertainment, and also for more sports? I don't think there's any sports, but like sports in Web3, music in Web3. Have you guys discussed that? Is that something that is relevant?
Yeah, if you're on Decrypt and you look at, we have a bunch of different hubs on Decrypt, and if you open our menu on the left, one of them about 5 down is called Scene. Scene is really our hub for culture, film, music, basically anything. And unfortunately, right now, like a lot of it is very heavily intertwined with emerging technology. So really, when there's tokenization around it, when there's stuff that intersects with crypto or emerging technology. AI right now is a huge subject, right? We get coverage there. Unfortunately, like music doesn't get the coverage that it deserves yet. We're because of Myriad, we are, and we'll get to this in a bit, I'm sure, we're really expanding on the cultural coverage. Like you guys saw, the first markets that we tested around music were obviously the Grammys, because that's relatively easy to do. And also when it comes to music, maybe the most mass market appeal, you have people who don't feel like they have to be subject matter experts, who might have a sense of what's happening in pop music, right? And so we tested that and prototyped that a little bit to see what the engagement would be like on that. In the future, you will see a lot more markets relative to film, culture, music. And because of that, we do need more coverage natively. But also, as I mentioned earlier, like our News Explorer, aggregating news from other places, we intend to distribute content and news from other publications as well. And you'll see some of that to kind of fill in those gaps. But we're always open to growth, given that we can afford it.
I do want to see more sports. I know other people do want to see more sports on Myriad Markets, like hockey, baseball. I mean, it's endless, but okay, that's my 1-2. Bada bing,
For sure.
Cookie
For,
on you.
well, for sure. It's funny. We were talking earlier before the show about the Grammys and kind of the relevancy that it really, the weight it carries today. And to me, I kind of predict, I'll make a prediction for the prediction markets right now. I see prediction markets such as Myriad kind of being the Grammys of the future. I feel people using their voice to talk about what they're listening to, what they're checking out. The people are going to be the real judge and jury and the tastemakers of the culture. And by the culture, I don't mean a culture. I mean the culture of the planet. You know, people speaking their mind in the masses and what they dig and what they don't dig. And so anyway, I think Myriad's going to be the Grammys
You
in the
know,
future.
I don't disagree, and I think a big piece of this is people are losing. Like every day, it feels like this gets like it becomes a steeper and steeper slope. People are losing faith in organizations. Like it sounds really and like no offense to anybody, like don't sue me over this, but organizations like the Grammys, right? And it's like who's actually making these decisions? Like half of the names, and the same thing that happened with the Academy Awards with the Oscars. It's like half of the stuff that I saw on there, one, like, and I feel like I'm pretty cultured, I didn't recognize, or two, I thought did not belong. You know what I mean? Like these were not valid nominations. And
Yeah.
it's like, who's choosing this? And like when we talk about markets, you know, prediction markets, especially when we start to become more and more decentralized, it's an opportunity for people to voice their tastes, their opinions. And one of the things, you know, that I've mentioned before that we need to start talking about more is people looked at prediction markets historically as just like another casino, right? It's a way to bet on something else. I think that's a fundamentally flawed approach, and I think it really needs to be approached more along the lines and the perspective of prediction markets give users and people the ability to tokenize their opinions. When you buy a position on chain, you have a tokenized representation and a value associated with your opinion on what the outcome of this real world event is going to be. And if that becomes more likely or more people agree with you that this should be or will be the eventual reality, your opinion has become more valuable and you can sell and exit that position. It's not like you're placing a bet and you're waiting for the market to resolve. You can trade your opinions, right? And so this is an entirely new class of DeFi products, and it's proliferated a little bit through like meme coins too. You know, you see these ideas. You know, people tokenize ideas because memetics are ultimately just ideas, right? They tokenize ideas, and as they become popular, you know, they become worth more collectively. So it's an interesting new class of DeFi product, you might say.
For sure. It almost seems like, well, I mean, it really, you know, a prediction market is, I mean, when you make a prediction, it's really like a voting ballot. You know, you're voting on something, and I mean, and that could be powerful, and it could be in all aspects. It could be entertaining, and it could be a serious thing you have a serious view or an opinion about. It's really cool. I really dig it, and I want to ask about the light bulb for this because me and Hef were in Rug Radio very early on, and what it started out to be, which no disrespect to the whole DAO concept, I think there's some cool stuff there, but from what I saw, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, your place, you kind of came into this, Loxley, and you took this model that obviously couldn't work the way it was set up. It was impossible. The contract wasn't verifiable, all kinds of stuff. And DAOs, you know, they're kind of questionable, really, if they really, anyway, and we all have our opinions about DAOs. But you, with your previous experience business-wise, kind of came in here. And how did this light bulb moment with you and Farouk happen where you were like, yo, because you kind of, you accomplished a similar goal, but within the boundaries that you had to work in. And it's very impressive. It kind of blew me away. And I just wonder how you guys kind of, boom, the light bulb came off and you said, I know what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do with it.
Yeah. So really like going back to the very beginning, Farouk, you know, Farouk called me, and you got to remember early on when the idea of Rug Radio deployed, DAOs were popular and they're in the limelight. And also DAOs are a great way to crowdsource expertise. And if you look at it from this perspective, it really did work the way that it was intended to in a few ways. One, I myself, Mike Kriak, and a few others contributed. There was about 30 people on the original DAO council I was voted in. What happened? I don't know if many people recall how this story occurred. Farouk and some of the crew that were building originally were trying to figure out how to create a voting mechanism, and they wanted to do it in Snapshot, and it didn't really exist. And I had a bunch of engineers, software engineers that were working for me, and we were all like Rug Radio holders. We were, or at the time, just like mint, it was just minting. Like we were all either interested supporters or minting about to mint. And they asked, I remember one day, Mel had asked in the Discord who could help to create a platform to make this DAO vote possible. And I was busy with like a million different things, but I checked into Discord, and like 2.5 hours later, I checked back in and no one had responded. And I was like, oh shit, fine. Okay. Like, it's like, I got to do this. So I put in the Discord, just in Discord. I was like, hey, I got some engineers. If you need help, like we can definitely, like we've done stuff like this before, very simply, we can do it. And Mel DM'd me and she's like, hey, we'd love for you guys to help. Let us know what you want to charge, and I said, look, like I'm not interested in charging at all. We just want to create value and want to help to put this together. So we architected a plan for how we were going to create this new platform.
It's crazy.
And then ultimately worked with another guy, a friend of ours named Drew, and we put together this platform that gave us the ability to vote on the original DAO council. My name was nominated, and I got voted into the original DAO council. And Farouk called me up after having a few conversations. We had a conversation at South by Southwest in March, and I offered. Oops, my Wi-Fi's going a little weird. I offered support and said, "Hey, like we're at your disposal. Like we want to support our bags any way that we can." And then a few weeks passed, a few months. It was about 2 months that passed, and Farouk called me up and said, "Hey, we have this organization. I need some help. I need to figure out where we go next. We have huge audience, huge amount of traction. What do you think?" And after a number of phone calls back and forth, he and I agreed on one thing, and that was that media is a fantastic catalyst for growth, and it's a great business. But ultimately, if we wanted to create value for the holders and the users, consumers of media within the ecosystem, we really had to be a tech company that was going to innovate media and create value for people through the channels of that, like the blockchain rails that were available to us. So it wasn't about just creating content about Web3 and about crypto and about blockchain. It was using blockchain, using crypto, using Web3 to create a better world for content creators, content consumers, and then ultimately like the economic inputs, the sponsors and all of that. And so like that's really where this all started. We started down the path of trying to spent honestly a long time figuring out what are the potential economic instigators that could create value for the company and eventually be able to return value to the stakeholders, the various stakeholders. And there was a lot of positive stuff that we could do in digital advertising and these other areas. When we had the opportunity to merge with and acquire the Decrypt team and brand and everybody, and bring them on board, one of the things that we found when digging through their archives was a desire from Joe Lubin early on when he incubated in 2017, and then conversations all the way through 2019, end of 2019, about prediction markets and about how they intended and they wanted Decrypt to be an innovative media source with prediction markets integrated. And so we resurrected and started that conversation, and it made it onto the roadmap, but it wasn't the number one priority because we were still solving for a lot of things. We were solving for some commercialization. We were solving for a lot of things like the friction that comes with DAOs and some of these other structures, and how we were just going to merge Decrypt and Rug Radio, two very different entities.
Right.
And then convince people that the value, like that was the hard part, is like we had to convince a lot of people that this was a positive EV
It made sense though. What you guys were doing, it was making sense. I want to jump back, Lox, because
go for it.
I think, we all got into rug radio for our own particular reasons. I can only speak for myself. And I jumped into it because of radio.
Yeah.
And so for me, not knowing really rug radio, like what radio was really what I focused on. And then the media, I saw the media, and it goes hand in hand. What was it for you? Why did you get into rug radio before the phone call with Farouk, before anything, before the Mel's, before any of that? What attracted you to rug radio from the get-go?
So, okay, so going back in history a little bit here, I got wrangled in. There was this kid that I went to university with in 2013. He wrangled me into buying Bitcoin. Didn't know what I was buying. Bought a decent little stack of Bitcoin, and then I couldn't figure out how to sell it. At the time, we used PayPal to buy Bitcoin, and we were literally like importing codes into wallets. And because of that, like I couldn't figure out how to sell. And this is in like the Mt. Gox era and all of that. And I never got involved with any of the exchanges, like luckily, because a lot of them, like the Mt. Gox issue occurred.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out how to sell it. And then the price went up and I was like, oh shoot, I need to figure out how to sell it. And I called this guy, and said, hey, you got to help me. And he's like, yeah, I'll come over tomorrow. Tomorrow never happened. And tomorrow became next week, became next month. And then eventually, market recessed back on it. And I was like, okay, like, well, we're still in a good situation. And then it was luckily for me, it was in the grand scope of things, my financial exposure was relatively small enough that there wasn't a major need to try to figure it out. So like, that was good. That was like maybe a blessing in disguise. And then, beginning of 2017 comes around and the same guy's like, hey, do you want to help me fund an Ethereum mining farm, essentially. He was like, you want to buy a bunch of GPUs and mine Ethereum? And I had no idea what Ethereum was. But he sold me on a few things, like the ethos of decentralized currency, decentralized compute, and ultimately like this, what now, we call this world computer and all of that. And for me, what sold me on that really was this idea of mailbox money, of just passive income. It was like, hey, where can I allocate dollars and generate passive income? Because that was a big part of my life, was just investing and funding small businesses that were good cash flow businesses. As a tech entrepreneur who didn't have kind of a silver spoon, everything that I had built early on, the companies that succeeded and the companies that failed, were all relatively bootstrapped, and we had investors and all of that, right? But it was always around this idea of my investment thesis was always fundamentally sound, cash flow positive, and build things that are real, not just jumping from fundraise to fundraise, smoke and mirrors, waiting for a greater fool to come along and acquire you. It was, how do you create real value? And so, sorry, this is a long story, but going back to Rug Radio, what happened was when I was introduced to, I say introduced, I was familiar with Farouk and and a few other people who became really big in the crypto Twitter space from the Clubhouse days. We used to sit on our farm in Northern California. We had this little farm, little cannabis farm, and like that was fun. But like as the sun would set, we'd sit and listen to Clubhouse.
Wait, did you say cannabis farm or canvas?
Cannabis farm. So I had a little cannabis farm. Yeah, outside. Yeah. So for about 2 years, we had a little cannabis farm. So we 2 grow seasons, cannabis farm outside of Tahoe.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was fun. But used to listen to Clubhouse, and this was pandemic days. And then as Farouk and the crew came up with the concept of Rug Radio, September, October 2021, I started paying attention, and it triggered for me. I thought, wow, there's a potential for a real business here. A lot of what we were seeing in the space was new and fresh IP plays because of the successes of like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, because punks had gotten big, and Gary V and V Friends and all of this. And it's like, okay, there's a lot of IP plays. There's a lot of, again, these smoke and mirrors that I felt were out there, and I felt like there was very few people that had like this idea to create something that could potentially be a business. And it was like, okay, you have this guy, someone like Farouk, who is polarizing. Some people loved him, some people hated him, but he was attracting attention. And if he can congregate a large enough audience, you can always you can always create product to create value for that audience. And so, there's this phrase, this idiom or whatever, colloquialism within crypto, or not within crypto, within entrepreneurship. First-time founders prioritize features. Second-time founders prioritize distribution. And so, it's really building and creating, given that you have distribution or that you have channels for native and social and viral distribution, life's a lot easier. And that's really what, inadvertently Farouk and Rug Radio was creating, was one of the biggest distribution vehicles inside this nascent industry that was crypto. So that's what attracted me to it, right? I thought, hey, there's something potentially real here. Oh, muted again.
You're muted.
Sorry, I keep muting my mic because I don't want.
You're good. You're good.
Sole profession here, bros. Very professional. But no, I was saying, like, take your time, answering. Don't worry about it. Like, we want to know. That's you're giving us the insight. So we're asking those questions. So don't feel like, if you're rambling on or you're taking long to answer, just do your thing. No stress here, bro. All good. And I'm glad that you grew cannabis. It's awesome. Yeah. Well, so what was that like? That was short? That was brief or what?
So I had a cannabis brand. So a big piece of my backstory is the first tech company that I built was supporting e-commerce, and really we built micro financing payment processing platforms. So basically early iterations of buy now, pay later platforms. So this is like 2010 through 2014 that I built, and then exited that platform. And so coming off the back of that exit, I liked buying and building, because we did build a few small consumer brands and things that could be cash flow positive. And
awesome.
Cannabis industry in 2017 through 2021 was like really good, right? Both in THC and in the minor cannabinoids. And what really ended up taking off for us, what ended up taking off for us was minor cannabinoids like CBN as sleep aid products. And so creating different formulations and branding them, in a way that was appealing to an audience that wasn't the traditional cannabis audience, was something that we focused on. And for a few years found a ton of success in that space. And then there was like some major oversaturation, and like the margins, the brands still exist, but the margins are severely truncated. And so it's like, it's not as big of a, but for a few years there, we wanted to go fully integrated, or vertically integrated. And so we were farming, extracting, distilling, formulating everything in-house.
What the hell? That is just so crazy. Like, it's in the sense, like, crazy good, not like crazy, like, whoa, Looney Tunes, but like crazy good, because it takes a lot to do that. It's not like you just wake up and you're like, oh, I'm going to extract and I'm going to do this and that and the other. It's like, takes a lot of knowledge.
A lot of knowledge. And this is the fun part, right? Is like, this is what I love about business, is like, I have the ability, it really satiates like my ADHD. I have the ability to be able to spend a handful of years digging in and learning something from the ground up, and like really trying to assimilate as much knowledge as possible. And so, everything from like negotiating with Vitalis and Vitalis is the company that was building the extraction equipment that we were using, learning the distillation process, ruining a bunch of biomass, a bunch of inventory in the process, hiring people who were good at what they did, but not so good that they were unaffordable. It was part of the process too. And that was challenging, but you learn how to cultivate talent and all of that in the process. You learn so much about the science. Like we stumbled in it by accident. When I got really interested in minor cannabinoids, specifically for sleep aid, because I had like a few years of like really bad insomnia, not like clinically diagnosed insomnia, but like I was struggling with sleeping, right? And so I was struggling with sleeping, and so I found these high CBN content products, which were expensive as shit, dude. Like it's crazy how expensive CBN was. CBN, the reason we went vertically integrated is because
more than the flower itself. Wow.
So CBN as a compound, distillate for a period there was selling for about $40,000 a kilo for distillate of CBN. And then what we found by accident was that there was certain strains of indica that when grown with, certain THC concentration, over oxidized and basically ruined plants, the THC would degrade into high levels of into like high CBN concentrations. So when you extracted, you would get way more CBN from those extracts than you would, in properly farmed, cannabis, right? And so, yeah, so it's like this is like such a tangent, but basically that led us, like that accidental exploration led us into creating sleep aid products and and stuff like that. And yeah, like that was a fun little era.
And no pun intended. After this, you kind of just rolled into Rug Radio.
Yeah. Like
so
in between. So in this period, to this day, those brands still exist, and I still have ownership, and some of the margins aren't great, and so like it's just a side.
Rug Radio strand comment, is that what you're
right? We should. No, but it's just one of my portcos, that survived. But also, it was one of the ones that I really loved and I really cared about. But the funny thing is, like getting into Rug Radio, this was the first time that I've ever been in the media industry. Okay. I was always a media buyer when we owned consumer brands, sure. But we were never, producers. I'm not the influencer content creator type, right? So again, I had to learn from the ground up. How do you be a CEO of a media company, of a media platform? And then with Decrypt, the part that's challenging is Decrypt was like it's a serious business. Like this is 7-year-old, high journalistic integrity, and it exists as one of the leaders in the entire crypto industry. Now, arguably, I think Decrypt is number one, number two. There's a lot of other great platforms out there, but when we're talking about just the crypto journalism platforms, we try to lead the industry, and it's not easy saying, "Hey, I'm a first-time media executive coming in and learning how to do it." And even today, I'm learning new things on a daily basis. That are sometimes challenging, like dealing with, defamation suits. When you create content, someone's always suing you. Like when you have situations where you report on something and it causes a chart to paint a big red candle. People accuse you of impropriety and misconduct, and the reality is, like, we have great systems because we have a great team of pure separation of church and state. Our editorial team at Decrypt, they are fully quarantined. Like they operate in a building where none of us from the business side have any exposure. I talk to our editor in chief once a week, unless there's a problem that we have to help solve. Other than that, they run it, right? And so there's not an opportunity for impropriety, but you always get accused of it. And so it's like, okay, how do you address that publicly? How do you ensure that your systems and processes are clean? How do you ensure that you're hiring and managing the right talent? How do you make sure that you're marketing in the right way? And like for us, we can sell ads against Rug Radio that we can't sell against Decrypt because the journalistic integrity is two very different things. Rug Radio is entertainment. Decrypt is journalism, right? And all of these things you have to learn. You have to become extremely proficient in very quickly. So tough job.
Yeah, it's a lot that goes into it, a lot that comes out of it. It's an incredible job that you guys have been doing so far. I'm proud of you guys because it's exciting to see it all kind of unfold. I want to pass the mic to Cookie. Cookie, I know you got some stuff
it's just fascinating listening to it, and watching everybody move at the Stan, Myriad, and Rug Radio, and watching how you've been operating individually. it just seems that you have a real talent. Like, I think everybody has a calling, and just from an outsider looking at it, just seems like you're really good at looking at something and saying, okay, how can I turn this into a sustainable business? It just seems like you're really good at that. So I guess my question is, okay, how do you how do you make music a sustainable business? Okay, give it to me in 30 seconds or less. Go.
Yeah, that's so look, this is what I would say. I don't know anything about the music industry. What makes my brain work, and I think that this is why we've had success building and creating businesses. Businesses are open operational circuits, right? And ultimately, what we're trying to do as entrepreneurs is we're trying to close those circuits. We're trying to take these inorganic things, these non-material things, really just ideas, and turn them into living, breathing organisms. And that problem solving really is what really gets me excited. When I look at like the music industry, from what I understand, I think that there's a massive imbalance of wealth concentration that occurs. There are, and again, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that there are certain aspects of the supply chain that benefit at the expense of others. And I even look now at platforms like tech platforms that are like maybe Apple and I don't know the margins of companies like Spotify, right? But they're really winning at the expense of the content creators. It's not that very different from what we are trying to do at Dastan, right? We have people who are creating. They're the human inputs that are creating the value. And what we are tasked with is creating the systems and the technologies that makes the value distribution equalized. And so I don't know the answer for music. Ultimately, for us, the only way that content creators historically have monetized is through digital advertising. It's how do you get sponsorship? How do you get banner ads? How do you get all of these things? Unfortunately, what happens in media and over time is the value of digital advertising diminishes because people become banner blind, or you run out of authentic things that you can shill and sell to people, right? And so the ROI for advertising is, there's really a diminishing return. And so what do? We find new mechanisms to get people engaged and to allow them to participate in the economic cycle of media in a way that isn't as extractive or irrelevant as advertising is. And so, we could sit and brainstorm when it comes to the music industry. What does that mean, right? How does the revenue generation shift and change away from, from what it has currently been? With us, what we're doing is we bring prediction markets now, and this is where Myriad Markets comes into the whole thing. Instead of serving you advertisements, we're serving you an opportunity to participate in a market. You might place a prediction on a market and stake money into it, tokenize your opinion. And if that opinion is wrong, then it feels like a casino because that becomes less in value. If your opinion is right, then that opinion, that tokenized opinion becomes greater in value as you move towards the determination of that outcome. And then ultimately you can sell that position. And so there will be people that choose to participate in it and people that don't choose to participate in it. But what's great is the revenue model of Myriad is we get to take a small percentage of the total transactional volume, just like any other protocol does. Something like Uniswap takes, every single time you swap a token, they take a small percentage of the transactional volume. We get to take that and we get to split it up between rake back for users, liquidity providers who are making this the process possible by giving you the ability to play all sides of the bet. They take a piece of it. Obviously, the protocol takes a piece of it, but where we really have innovated media is the publisher. Whether you're an independent content creator or you're a journalistic entity like Decrypt, they get a piece of all of that revenue that's generated from the total transactional volume that happens on the prediction markets. And so we think this is a integrative, less extractive, less more relevant way to get people engaged and to monetize media. And I genuinely believe that in the coming 2 to 3 years, you'll see less and less banners and advertisements on media, and you'll start to see more opportunities like prediction contracts integrated into media, because what will now be a supplemental business unit will be the primary business unit that, that goes against media. So when it comes to music, I don't know what those things are, but I think the process is similar.
I love that. I just want to ask real quick, and I'm sorry if this is an FAQ thing in the Distan, Discord, but it's something I'm confused with. And since I got you here, we have you here. We're talking about, and I love the idea of us, us using our voice and in these prediction markets. But we talk about like if we make the correct choice or if we don't. But I want to talk more about this. Like you can sell your position. I don't really understand how that works. So let's say, there's something, I guess you understand the question I'm asking. Like, what does it mean when I pick something and then it's still in play? It hasn't been, solved yet, but I say, okay, well, I'm in the green. I'm going to sell it now. What does that actually mean?
Yeah. So there you go. So ultimately, like let's take the easy one. Let's take Super Bowl, right? You got two teams. So this is a binary. The easiest way to break down these markets is binary. It's two options, right? Binary. We'll just for the sake of we'll just call Team A and Team B instead of talking about Eagles and Chiefs and all that, because I'll just stumble. Here. You have a green option and a red option. Team A, Team B. When we launch these markets,
we're going to mention the Eagles and the Chiefs. You said green and red.
I know. Now I'm just doing it.
Red, bro. Come on. You can't.
Okay, so here we go. So when we deploy the markets, our job in order to make the most efficient market is not to create a 50-50 odds environment. It's actually to use AI agents, which we've built in fantastic. Like AI is like such a great tool.
I love AI.
That is actually taking consumer sentiment from the internet. We take odds from everywhere, and we say, we're going to set these odds based on what we believe the particular outcome is going to be. And then from there, we open the market, supplying liquidity to both sides of this, right? So people don't realize if we're talking about USDC markets, we have to provide real money, USD.
I always see that up top. You guys are like, there's like a huge number, 1 million or whatever. Nobody has that yet, but like, yeah, you guys, I get it. That's awesome. That you guys are supplying that.
Yep. So we supply liquidity, and then in the future there will be other liquidity providers that get to participate. But we supply liquidity in there, and basically what happens is you get to say, I believe that that Team A is going to win. You buy a share or however many shares that you want, and when you buy that, you're basically depositing money into the pool, right? That buys shares from one side. And then we have a little bit of liquidity imbalance that happens, right? So you start to have this team go down in likelihood of winning odds, right? And so anyone who took this position, the more people that bet here, the value of this is going down, because we're shifting as you buy, we're shifting liquidity into the shares of the thing that you're buying, right? Or from the share from the thing that you're buying, that pool is being depleted and the cost is going up. So basically, when you see that number go closer to 100% probability, that just means that the cost of these shares have gone up. And so ultimately, that's how it works out, right? So we have an order book where you aren't necessarily, when you and Hef are in there buying shares of different things, you're not betting against each other by buying shares off of each other. You're buying from an automated market making pool that's been pre-established, and they're each seated with a certain number of shares ultimately, right? And it's like it's just basic supply and demand. So
how are you guys getting the answers, like knowing that the right answer is that it's correct, and that you guys didn't make a mistake? How do you back that up?
Yeah, so ultimately, if you look at every single market, at the bottom, the rules of each market will state what the resolution source is. The interesting thing about markets is it's actually not what occurs in the real world, but what the resolution source states occurred in the real world. So for instance, if we said Associated Press is the resolution source, if Associated Press is wrong and they publish something and they refuse to redact it, whatever they said, because those are the rules that established, right? Like whatever they establish as truth is what wins, because that's the rules that were stated. If we say that whatever Hef says is the resolution source, then you make a statement on your Twitter, right? And that's how some of these markets work. It's like, oh, will Donald Trump say, will he say fart coin during his next speech? And if this individual says this word according to, wherever it is that's being distributed, we can pick whatever it is. Or will he tweet? If this shows up on his Twitter feed, right? That's the resolution source. And so it's really just about defining the resolution source. And what's great is our experience from Decrypt with the intense journalism and standards that we have over there has given us the ability to be able to create a markets content team that understands what are viable, credible sources, what aren't, how do we set rules that are very clear, and and then how do we operate these markets, basically following the rules of engagement that we set forth for all the users.
Very cool. I was wondering, to make those resolutions, is that always, or is it sometimes, or is it never Oracle based?
Yeah. So here's the thing. The answer is sometimes. The goal in the future is always, but the problem is that as great as products like UMA and Chainlink and some of these other oracles that exist are, there's still a lot of shortcomings in oracles. What I envision in the future, and really like what my technological aspirations are as an individual and collectively as a team as well, is we would love to see a prediction and media specific oracle make it to market that is utilizes agents in a number of ways to provide not only highly accurate but very fast resolution periods. If you look at the advancements that we've made in AI, if you even look at Grok, this is what's crazy. It's like, if you remember the last iterations of ChatGPT, they were like, all the training data was aged and dated. But we were in Portugal during Trump's inauguration speech, and we're all sitting in the office. The entire prediction market team that we have, our whole product team was there. We're sitting in the office, and minutes after Trump's inauguration speech, someone had a question about what Trump said. And we went into Grok, and we just did a little bit of a search, and it was updated immediately. Like it had, because someone. Yeah. And then we checked it against hallucinations to see, okay, like, is this actually the 2025 inauguration speech, or was this the 2017 inauguration speech that was information from? And one of those tests that we ran was around the Gulf of America, and his statements about Gulf of America, which was right. Unique to this inauguration speech. But it was really impressive. And so I think in the future, while there will always be a human element of arbitration and moderation and all of that really, there's a future where a mega billion-dollar product like a prediction specific oracle gets created and is the determining factor of these markets.
That's awesome, bro. Very cool stuff. I want to ask you about the content creators and Myriad Markets. And I want to also get into Abstract, because you guys are on Abstract chain now. So with the content creators is somewhat important, really important to me. I would say not somewhat, but I want to know in regards to, one, Rug Radio has content creators. And to me, there should be like a station. And I've mentioned this to Farouk as well, where I thought Rug Radio to me is like a XM satellite. Should be a channel or something, where there's certain shows programmed. For instance, you have, obviously FOMO hour. So they would be Monday through Friday at, the time that they open up, and then when they close, and then what comes after that. Just like a real radio station has certain shows, or XM satellite has shows, one after the other with different topics. Could be music related, could be crypto related, or whatever, movie related, anything like that. Is that anything that's going to be for the future? So that way, if people are looking for they're looking for content, they can actually find it on a schedule on rugradio.fm or somewhere where they know what shows are going to be playing at particular times.
Yeah, if you looked historically, the very beginning of Rug Radio, really before I was in the position that I'm in, this was attempted, and the coordination was very poorly done.
Yeah.
And it got
program director, that I can tell you. It needs a program director and an assistant program director, a music director as well. But that's just my opinion on it from my experience.
And you're 100% right. And now that streaming is such a priority with Abstract and our relationship with them, one of the conversations that we're having on a regular basis right now is really the development of a channel where we have basically 24-hour content. Obviously the Rug Radio creators, like this is where this becomes viable. What's challenging and historically has been a problem for us is the majority of Rug Radio creators create as, I don't want to use the word hobbyists in a derogatory way, right? But it's like they're doing it because they love to do it, and there's not really a ton of economic opportunity as a content creator, right? Like it takes and it takes and it takes, and it's very challenging for it to give, right? And like unless you have huge audience, it's extremely challenging to monetize. We want to give people opportunity to be able to distribute on channel, but we also feel like if someone is on a schedule, they need to be reliable, and we need to know that the show's actually going to make it. It's actually going to go live, and we're not constantly changing. But in order to do that, there has to be financial incentive. And so, you know, in the future of a tokenized world where there are resources available through different, you know, participants, Abstract, Myriad, maybe a few other entities that can help to create economic incentive for people to be able to create and to distribute on a schedule. And we know that they are professionals or at least making a professional effort. Those are the efforts that are needed. And I would say, I don't know a timeline, but I will say that you are not the only person who, who's interested in seeing this come to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand exactly what you said. So thank you for that concise explanation as to why it's not actually there yet. And totally agree with you. Advertisement, that is the major thing. Without the money, radio stations themselves can't run. That's why they sell advertisements. Same with television. So I totally understand that 100%. And
yeah, if you look really quickly though, right? Like the ability, I don't know if you've done any streaming on Abstract, or if you've taken a look at it.
Yeah, we're waiting. We're waiting. We got to make a phone. We know some people at Rug Radio, but yeah.
Yeah. Let's pull some levers and make it happen. If you look at the way that it works, you can stream. Let me pull it up actually. When you're in there, you can stream Myriad, right? And so instead of running advertisements, in theory, if you are in stream and like right now I can see this guy named a Raving Ape is streaming Magic.
Are you on Abstract right now?
Yeah, streaming Magic Eden. So I'm on Abstract now, and I'm just digging through it, and it says at the bottom what they're streaming. And so when you start a stream, you can select.
I'm going to add it to the screen real quick.
Yeah.
So people can see, people that are watching at home. By the way, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. This is Jus Riffin. We do it 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day, right? Every day? No. Every Tuesday. If we did this show every day because we have guests on, I would die. I would be doing the show from over here on the floor. All right, let me share the screen.
Here, can I share my screen here? Let me see if this will.
I don't know. Yeah,
you
can, and then I think I have to add it. Go ahead, Lox.
That's all good. Let me see. I was going to show you here, if I can.
If not, I can just do it there. You can tell me which one to click on.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, I see it now. Hang on. All right, Lox, it's all yours.
Okay, so when you're in stream here as a content creator, you have all of your app discovery and all of that goes through. You can see everything. Myriad right here is fantastic. But when you go to stream and you start your stream, you can create a stream title. Let me call it Jus Riffin.
Yeah, we need access to this.
Right. And then you can say which app are you wanting to create with. And so here we can say, I'm just chatting, I'm streaming without an app, or I can select any of these. And from here, I can select Myriad, and I can say, talking about today's markets. And you create a stream, and boom, we're in here streaming, and it says not only like, and you can stream, you put your StreamYard key and all of that in there, and you and it shows when you're out there projecting, it shows, oh, I'm streaming from the Myriad application, and then you actually engage and show the markets and all that you're doing. And so as an opportunity for creators, whatever show is on Rug Radio, whether it's through Myriad or another application, right? The ability to share these applications. Now we don't have to run ads anymore. You're literally just participating in Myriad or whatever it is, earning fees from the market. So it's like as people participate in the markets based off of your stream, you have an opportunity to create income and revenue, and you're not just selling ads, you're talking to people about the real world events, the things that are relevant to the content that you're creating, right? So
this is awesome. And then you're able to get tipped, right, as well on Abstract. So you could earn, and so it's I guess it's like one of those, it's just going to be awesome. I can't wait to get in. I know me and Cookie Rabinowitz are super excited about getting in there because we want to be part of that as well moving forward, so
for sure. And Lox, I don't know if I saw this correctly, but I don't believe you upvoted Myriad yet on that thing on Abstract. So go ahead and give that an upvote.
You know what? I just noticed that today. I think they reset week over week or something happens, because I did upvote last week and the numbers are changed. They're different than what they are. So they must have a weekly reset. So yes, go upvote it again. If you haven't, do it, and I will as well.
Hey, I'd like to ask a quick question. It might be a little weird, maybe, but so am I. So with the Myriad Markets, well, let's dig into this a little bit quick. I love, like many people, going down the rabbit holes of YouTube, right? Whether I'm learning a new piece of music gear or a guitar lick from some great guitar player that's doing songs in there. So I noticed right before Myriad had a quick blackout for a second while you guys were converting over to Abstract. And I noticed when I went into my past actions that I did, I saw, like, I was watching a tutorial on this recording software and it picked it up in Myriad. And I was thinking either A, it's a blip, or either B, it's awesome. And this whole thing is going to be way bigger than it is now. So please tell me it's the second.
It is the second. And what people don't necessarily see the value of yet, and they will, is the browser extension. So we have a few ways of distributing markets, and one of them, is through the Myriad browser extension. I think today, just so you guys know, update, I think we're at like 37,000 unique users who have downloaded the browser extension. Pretty good for a beta season, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're super happy with that. But in the future, you got to remember that the entire engine that we've built that runs our content delivery is based off of a content matching algorithm. So the browser extension gives us the ability to scrape the content from the page and then cross-reference it using AI agents, also cross-reference it to our catalog of prediction markets. And then we can now place content relevant predictions. So anytime you're watching music videos in the future on YouTube, and we're running, say, the Grammys markets, if you're watching music content on YouTube, you will be served Grammys markets only. You won't be served anything, or whatever's relevant to music. If you're watching ESPN highlights, you'll be served sports markets, right? Like, and it's really, the goal is to not just spam people with like random shit. It's to really get them engaged deeper in the content and to participate in something that has a high conversion opportunity for them.
So cool.
Yeah. Muted again. Pro.
Yep, muted again, because I've got to respect everybody. So, just want to make sure. Don't worry, man. I'm keeping it pro over here, for sure. 100. No, I was just saying, like, that this is like awesome that, people are going to be served up the content that they actually want, and they're going to be able to engage and earn in that light. I want to know, before I get to the token, because that's really what I think everybody's here for. They want to know about the token. And you know, I mean, I do too. I'm not really that concerned about it because it's, you know, tokens come and go. I'm really honestly more not even concerned, but just happy and proud that you guys are actually building some cool stuff that not only because we're content creators, but that we can also engage and earn as well and interact with Myriad Markets by predicting. I'm not really a big gambler, but I love it. I think it's so fun. And I'm a huge dude that I like taking the odds, you know?
Yep.
I'll take the underdog. I won a lot of draws on football, soccer, football, whatever, because I don't know my ass from my elbow. I know, you know, Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham and a couple other people. That's pretty much it. I don't know like soccer, football. Pardon me for the people over across the pond. But I think, you know, look, it's awesome for us too, you know, and so it's engaging. And I always say, you know, things that are going to win, there's always an angle to it. You know, it's the approach and then the angle, you know. So the approach, I'm sorry, you know, the approach is the approach and the angle, but it's also compelling and it resonates. And that's why I fuck with it, because it is compelling to me and it resonates because I actually like the cool stuff that's on there and things that I get a chance to read and learn about that that I don't get from anywhere else. Earning is just an extra bonus. We were reading the stuff anyway, so earning is just an added bonus for me. So yeah, I appreciate that. But I want to know about the content creators and how do you determine who's worthy enough to, one, be on the Myriad channel when it comes to on abstract, and then also how do content creators, how will they be able to utilize? And I know you can't let everybody and let the whole fucking world in and open up the floodgates like this, but how do you become a creator that will be able to utilize Myriad Markets to engage with their particular audience and do certain things? Maybe it's prediction for your own stuff. Maybe it's engagement, you know, like and retweet this, engage with that. How or is that not even a thing for creators? Will they be able to, or will they not be able to utilize it?
It is a thing. This has less to do with like deciding who is worthy, as you put it, of distributing, and more around the management and moderation resources that we have internally. It will roll out, and it will roll out to people that pull different levers in various ways for various reasons. It has little to do with traffic or mass appeal or consistency or long-term. There's a lot of other elements that go into it. What I will say is, like, draw back to the very basics here. Those who have been approved to stream on Abstract, amazing. We're pushing to get all the Rug Radio creators available there. And I'm going to push the team. Not only do I speak to the Abstract team every day, but I'm also going to be with them in person next week. And so I'll make sure that I really push to get our Rug Radio creators, like, you know, approved to be creating, because when you're streaming on Abstract, not only do you have the ability to engage in like the Myriad, like streaming the Myriad app and all of that, but there's Abstract XP that's being earned as well by streaming. Right. And I know that there's a lot of speculation around what that turns into. Generally in the crypto space, points and XP always turn into something, right? And so when you run a blockchain, it's inevitable. There has to be some form of tokenization. I would say engage with Abstract as much as you can. And when I push to get you guys all approved, stream from there. Like, I think you can broadcast on YouTube, anywhere you're streaming, right? Sure. You can multicast, and you should be multicasting. There's no reason not to. Yeah, we do. So, and I think Luca has said that too, right? It's like, it's really silly to not do that. Right. When it comes to utilizing the markets and creating specific markets, the core functionality of the product, I will say there will be a slow release for when decentralized markets become available. But when they become available, it's a very specific product that we have been engineering that is proprietary to us. Man, I don't know how much I'm allowed to really say.
You got permission. You're good. I just red phone over here when you were talking. You're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The markets that we create currently and the markets that are available on platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi and all of these, they operate under a very specific AMM and central limit order book model, meaning that we have to supply an insane amount of liquidity to them to have a good user experience. But there's also a different way, a way to create and distribute these markets that would allow you and your group of like 4 friends in a group chat, or 5, there's like 5 or 6 of you, that in theory you guys could bet against each other, because without needing critical mass in order to still have a good user experience, right? And that is not that's not a CLOB, a central limit order book, or there's no AMM and there's no liquidity provided, liquidity provisioning needed for that to happen. So our team has been working beyond just our team, the team that we acquired to build this prediction market. They've been building and engineering this tech for 3 years. That's coming. I don't know when, but it'll give you the ability as a creator to launch very niche markets. And if you get 100 million users to bet on it, fucking fantastic. Yeah. If you have 6 people that bet on it, still fantastic, right? Because it'll work regardless. Unlike the main centralized products that work, like the contracts that we're creating require critical mass for it to be a good user experience, right? Like the future of prediction contracts is changing, and it will happen soon, and that will be available to creators, and it will require little to no moderation, because it's not, it's not something that we as a company are distributing. Us as an organized entity, we're not the ones distributing it. We're not providing liquidity. It's literally between, just like you launching a pump.fund with your friends, right? It's between you and your friends. And if anyone else pops in and hops into it, fantastic. If they don't, fantastic.
Hey, are you guys saying that we're about to launch a coin right now? That's all I want
to know. No coins.
No coins.
Yeah.
That's great. So we look forward to, I know as content creators, hopefully we're part of that lucky, chosen peeps that get a chance to experiment with that, because, we're coming from the music side of things, and we want to keep expanding on music, because we really do believe that we can bridge the gap with music and the tech, and, with the fans and with the creators as well. But so, yeah, we really, really hope that we get a chance to be a part of that. So that's that with that for sure.
Yeah. Amazing.
I want to know about the token. A lot of people want to know about the token, but really quickly, before we get into it, I did tell a couple of our solid supporters, friends as well, that they can ask a couple questions. Now, we're not going to bring them up because it just, it would get too long, I would think. So we're going to go first with Miss Henny. I'm going to put it up here. She wants to know what's been the most exciting part or parts of building Myriad for you personally.
Yeah. The stuff that's easy that people would think, the effort that went into getting, Farouk in a room with Donald Trump, and then again with Mark Cuban, and then again with Tony Fadell, and then now with Brian Johnson. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
That's so cool, man.
I didn't see it yet.
So getting access, it seems like that would be the exciting and the crazy parts. For me, I'm weird, and maybe more than like moderately like autistic, but for me, the struggle,
autistic.
yeah, the struggle of just taking, again, this open operational circuit and seeing something come together. It sucks because like the feedback loop and providing stuff to the public it feels so slow. But like the rapidity at which we're creating and then iterating internally is like we have really incredible talent, and it's like it's so
I always say protect the devs at all costs. Protect the devs. I say it on our show, tremendous amount. I got to get t-shirts that say protect the devs because protect them.
Let's make that shirt actually. I will say that like no one is sufficiently bullish enough because we're not just copying and pasting stuff. Like we are creating proprietary technology that has never existed, right? And it's like we're pioneering. So I'll tell you, this is like again another like long like Loxley lore story. But I remember early, I would say early in my tech career, maybe between the years 2011 2013, one of the conversations that I had with my mentor often was that we were living in the age of information. We thought like this was, Instagram was just proliferating. Like we had social platforms and it was like, oh wow, the barrier to entry to disseminate information has like decreased. And then the question that we always had, and like we talked about this all the time, is like, man, I wonder who is going to actually monetize information. And it turned into like Zuckerberg selling ads, and it turned into like, Google and like the whole like plethora of bullshit that they pull. And that was we never quite satisfied my desire to understand who it was going to be that was going to take a pure idea and create monetary value of an idea that became globally accessible, meaning that anybody around the world could buy this idea or they could sell this idea, right? And could participate in the value creation around memetics, around like truly what is like an attention economy. And I never imagined that 12, 13, 14 years later that I'd be able to look in the mirror and say to the person looking back in the mirror, like, holy shit, like you are the one who is pioneering the monetization of information, right? Like that's the craziest part to me. And I'm not like, it's really hard when you see us from what we are, like Rug Radio, Decrypt, all these things, you get a little glimpse of like the Myriad side and what that's going to become. But like what I wake up and the problems that I solve every single day is how do we create economic impact in this world, in this information economy. And I always thought it was going to be like Elon Musk, right? Like I always thought it was going to be, the Jack Dorseys of the world. And it's not, it's us.
Fucking right.
You guys essentially are. And, I wouldn't say you are Elon Musk. Look, everyone's individualized, and you guys, you're right. You pioneered this. Definitely 100%. There's nobody else that I know that's doing or has been working and have been building for as many years as you guys have, even though it's relatively a short amount of time, but time goes by so fast. That thing just ticks, and it don't wait for anybody. It waits for no man. And you guys have utilized every single second, millisecond, whatever, of the time that you've had from the inception of Rug Radio to Myriad Markets. That's all I can tell you, my opinion here. You guys have not wasted any time, and you are them, right? Because it's not one person. You're not him. You're them, right?
Yeah.
No weird pronoun shit here.
No, but you know what? I appreciate that because I feel like a lot of people don't get to see like the depth of what it is that we're doing. And I think that when they do see it eventually, people are gonna be like, oh shit, like, well, like it's gonna feel like it came out of left field, right?
Yeah.
Except for the people that have been paying close attention, right? And it's like people don't realize, like I'm gonna show this off because this is new and exciting to me. Like people don't realize, like I got Myriad tattooed on my arm 2 weeks ago. Like this is an insane amount of conviction coming from this team,
Yeah. First of all, really insane. So you went to Stockholm just to get this tattoo. Like I've heard of people doing this, but I don't know anybody that I know, like personally, that have actually got on a flight. And was this like, like a travel package? You get a tattoo with your flight?
Yeah, I got it.
But okay, so take us onto this journey of your arm, because you quote unquote said you're an open canvas.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, so
you guys want to see it?
Yeah, of course, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, show the
Okay.
world, bro.
So I'm really excited about this. What's funny is, I've been talking to this artist for a substantial amount of time, almost 2 years. And I had 0 tattoos, but I loved the art of it. I was a huge fan, and I never felt like I was able to commit. So eventually I found this fine artist, Pierre, incredible guy, French guy living in Stockholm. And, I started chatting with him about how I was really committed to letting him use my entire body as a canvas. And we were going to start with one arm, and we were going to move to the other, eventually do the chest and then the back. And this is all going to be done over the next 18 months, and then legs as well. So we'll use my whole body over the next 18 months. So the first trip out a few weeks ago, it was kind of like my birthday gift to myself was, hey, I'm going to take a few days. And I thought I was going to have a few days off because it was going to be 2 8-hour sessions in a chair getting tattooed. And it ended up the number of meetings that I had, like literally like Zoom calls from that chair while I was getting tattooed. Like, no idea.
Nobody had any idea, or you were like, "Hey, I'm getting tattooed right now."
Yeah, they knew. It was hilarious. It was so funny. It was actually one of the ones that was great is I was actually on the phone with Ape Chain. So I had a Zoom call with the Ape Chain guys, and they're like, wait, are you in a tattoo chair? I was like, yeah. But I'll show you. So basically, we started. I really love this idea of micro realism, and I wanted there to be so fine line micro realism. I wanted there to be some significance to all of it, but I wanted to give him a blank canvas to be able to operate and to just I just wanted to collect art from this guy.
Now is this? Did you give him creative freedom, or did you know what you wanted besides the Myriad? So you never guessed that you wanted Myriad on your arm.
Ultimately, and I'll show more in a second here. Ultimately, I wanted to. This whole thing is going to be a treasure map, and if you're like lucky enough to catch all the pieces of it, you might find my seed phrase and like be able to. You might find a buried treasure with
man, my seed phrase
with like 40 Bitcoin in it. So,
Seed phrase. If he's listening, seed phrase. If you're listening, I gotta shill it. I would love to have you on Jus Riffin. I sent you a DM. I shot my shot. And I shot my shot with Farouk, but it probably fell on deaf ears because he's so busy. But phrase, if you're listening, we want to get you in Jus Riffin. Okay.
Thanks, Danny. I'll have to tell you guys. So Danny, Farouk, and I are. So Seed Phrase is one of the best humans on the face of the earth, and I'll make an intro, especially if we get a chance in person to do that again sometime. But yeah, we'll get him on your show. He's a legend. I got this done, and some of it, the biggest element was I knew that I wanted to have very Greco-Roman motifs on this arm, and then the right arm we're going to go very Eastern Asian motifs, same artist, same style, and then we'll bridge it across the chest and then eventually the back, and then there's a lot of hidden meaning in a lot of things, but I didn't want to be like overly. I didn't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, like, what does your tattoo mean? It's
like everything has a meaning.
Yeah, it's just like, we were going to do, so this here, like, this is Prometheus, right? So the god of technology. And he stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. Then Zeus punished him by letting the birds peck out his liver, right? And so when we wanted to put a figure, it was like, who do you want to do? Do you want to do Atlas? You want to do, it was like, no, fuck it. Like, let's do Prometheus because badass. And so he's got like this biomechanical arm. So you have like this.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then he's got the fire in the hand and all that. And then of course,
the Pierre is insane. Like the lines and just the detail.
And then surrounded by birds, and then of course, like, Austin, Texas is will always, it's my home and will always be a big part of my heart even after I leave. And so one of the birds is kind of a Texas mockingbird.
Oh, cool.
Got a falcon, got this swallow and and then, of course, some of the lettering, some of the words have specific meaning. And then,
you had to endure some pain.
Yeah.
Wait, let me see the small print on the Myriad. What the hell? What do those say?
So this is script. So this will be this is TBD. So eventually, when the whole puzzle comes together, there's significance in these pieces, but indecipherable.
English? Can't see. Is it English?
No. Indecipherable at the moment. When you see it in person, like when I show you in person sometime, you'll you'll be able to see.
Do
This
you
is
have
this
like
is very Sam Spratt. This is very Sam Spratt-esque.
Oh, okay. All
The
right.
fine,
right.
the fine print of the detail and such those small little characters. It's amazing. Like,
And if you look at how he even did these elements, right? Like it's all stipple. It's so hard to show. It's all stipple work, right? And like very,
that's wild, man.
Yeah.
very fine detail.
Is that a timeline? Or what is that? What's going on underneath? I can't.
Yeah. You're catching on the little pieces.
All right, bro. Like I'm good at solving mysteries, bro. Not FBI over here, bro.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
How much pain though? Like, were you chill? Like, were you sweating a lot? Like, because getting a tattoo is not.
No, it was the first. It was the first tattoo experience for me, right? So it was like I didn't know what to expect. It wasn't nearly as bad as I was anticipating. Right. I was being a little baby at first. I was like nervous. It's like a good level of pain. Like like you
get used to it.
You do, and then also it's like I kind of like it's kind of masochistic. Like I kind of like that, So
dude.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the rest of it.
Yeah, dude. That's very, very cool. Okay. Now I'm going to go one more to My Dog Minton had a question as well, and we'll tackle that. Then I want to get to the token, and then you've been so generous with your time. I don't want to keep you that much longer. All right. Thank you, Lox. Definitely appreciate you, man. All right. So Minton says, My Dog Minton says, wanted to know what's going on with the foundation.
Yep.
Who are the directors?
Yeah. So we have a whole team of directors over there. Anna, Glenn, and then we actually have many of you guys know Tabs. So I like Tabs. So Tabs is over at the foundation now, and working on that. Ultimately, it's like a lot of the other tokens that are close to us and in our space use a lot of shared resources around foundation directors, because these are people who have law firms that are dedicated specifically to creating strong token structures and legal structures for them. So unfortunately, so Glenn Kennedy, director of foundation, was meant to be in Miami with us, and then during Art Basel, and then got sick. So he came down with something, missed it last minute, which was really a bummer, because I was hoping that he could be there. The only other time that he's ever been with Rug Radio holders was in Singapore, and so it's we'll get him eventually out, and eventually, as we get closer to the foundation deploying the token, and then we get holders distributed, there will always be a growing need for talent and for people to work and operate around the foundation, because that's just the way that these things go. But for now, it's that small core crew. There's a total in the foundation directorship. There's 6 people total that work at the foundation. Not all of them obviously are full time and working on that, right? But that's the crew, and they're all people who just come from professional token backgrounds.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Miss Henny. Thank you, Minton, for your engagement in the show. We definitely love your support. Thank you again. Once again, everybody, you are listening to Jus Riffin. We do it every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got Loxley, the CEO of Rug Radio, Decrypt Media, Destan, Myriad Markets, the whole shebang. We talked a lot today. Talked about music. We talked about tattoos. We talked about Myriad Markets, Rug Radio, Decrypt. We got into it as much as we can without being, just annoying and redundant. So everything has been super duper smooth, and I'm really just love the conversation, Lox. Last thing I want to bring up here, which I think is a perfect end to this, is the Myriad token. One, I want to know, you guys waited for a while for this, because I know this was a big thing for you. We talked about this in Miami at our house, and we talked briefly about it, not so much, but where, it was just one of those things that you wanted to make sure that it was done properly and not, it wasn't about the quick buck, so to say it this way, but you really wanted to take your time and made sure that you guys were thorough and made sure that you did the right thing. With the token now being on Abstract, one, was it a coincidence that Abstract was coming at the same time, or were you building the the tokenomics for this because you knew that abstract was coming, or did it just happen to meet at the same time? That's number one. The second part of this question is, when do we get the tokens, and what do we do with them?
So
we dump them. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
The abstract thing was interesting. Abstract is relatively new development, like Q3 of this last year. So the token was moving in a direction previous to that really, like, if you look at abstract, the real strengths of abstract are, one, they agree with us. We're very much aligned on the ideas that consumer crypto, meaning fully abstracted technology, hence the name abstract, is what's going to needed to get a million plus people using an application, right? Like, you can't require people to be blockchain literate and think that you're going to get, that you're going to get a million plus users on a platform. Myriad needs millions of users, like, it really does, and we'll get there. We're total signups, I think we're at like 67,000 people, and I think, while there are farmers, that number is less than 10% of the total users that are signed up on the Myriad now. So we're getting there, and we're growing. Luca Netz and Michael Lee and the team at Abstract are master marketers. These guys are really good at getting people congregated, and if you look at our history and our DNA, we really are, like, we're creator first, right? Like, we are a media company, we are marketers. And so having a blockchain for the first time that was aligned on the priorities of consumer, but also creator first, made it very obvious for us that this was the right path. Everything else that comes, like the synergies that come from it, like the ability for all the users to be able to get onto abstract and kind of participate in, like, the abstract XP, the Myriad points and all of that, is in a lot of ways coincidental that we get to double dip here. But there's huge synergistic opportunities and really maximization. It's a real positive EV environment. So that's kind of, if that answers that, kind of how that played out. And then, I can't, just like everyone, everyone wanted to murder me over this idea that it's taken so long to get the token here, and, like, we can't promise any dates. A combination of market cycles and technology and sufficient sinks and utility and exchanges and market makers and advisors, people who are willing to support the token, non-crypto institutions, liquid funds, all of these different entities that have to come together to create a token that isn't just like a splash in the bucket, is something that actually builds and sustains. And we can look, like, 3 cycles from now, we'll be able to come back in 2034 and be like, oh shit, like, how funny is this that, like, we had this from day one, right? And it becomes like a major. All of that stuff, some of it we can predict, and we have a timeline for, and we have a pretty good idea of when it's going to happen. But it could be off by a number of weeks, and by a number of weeks, I mean, like, as much as like 6 to 8 weeks in any direction. And last thing, like, the biggest way to commit suicide here is to say, oh, like, this is the day, this is what we're planning on doing, and then we'll get murdered over it. What I will say is that there's nothing happening behind the scenes that's like us sitting around being like, ha 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 ha, like, like, this is not a demonstration of force. We're operating to get all of the pieces aligned to work out the exact way that we need it to, in order to create something that provides the maximum value, network value, everything, to the stakeholders, to you guys, all the people that hold the NFTs, all the people that participate. And then from there, like, it's not just about the past, it's about the future. Who's going to hold this token in the future? Who's going to participate? How are they going to participate? And how do we make sure that we are building these foundations in a way that allow for them to enter the market with us and do it in a successful way? And, like, that's really challenging to think about as well. It's tough, because I know there's a lot of people that wish that we would move faster, and a lot of people want exit liquidity, and everyone's like, oh, I want my token, and I want to, I need liquidity. I need to dump this shit. Yeah, some people, like, when they get it, like, what they do with it is up to them. What I will say is, if you look at platforms like Virtuals, Hyperliquid, a lot of these massive platforms that are growing, there's a very smart way that tokens are used. And it's like, there's utilities that make sense, like on virtuals, when you are launching an agent, it requires 100 virtuals tokens as a fee to create a new agent, right? This is a very, like, this is not innovative. This is a very simple model. And it's like, what's the point of tokenization anyways? Well, it's to create a fuel for something, right? It's like, hey, we're creating fuel for the system to work. And that fuel, if done right, as you acquire, like, the goal is never to self-enrich. Like, it's not like, oh, we're going to create a token so we can all make money. The goal is, how do we create a system, a closed operational circuit, where you have a liquid engine of value flowing. And as more people come in, supply and demand of this token, right? Ultimately, like, imbalances, and we have more demand than we do supply. And supply gets constrained in a number of ways. One of them is utility. Another one is good incentive mechanisms for people to want to hold it, to speculate on it, to use it, to lock it up, to stake it, to do all these different things. And so it's really foolish to think, oh, we're very popular, and so we're going to launch a token that does nothing, and it's gonna become worth a lot of money. It's like, no, like, this is pretty basic economics. And if you look at like, for us right now, I think we have maybe 34 prediction markets live today, but we're turning over multiple per day. In theory, if you are creating a fuel for an ecosystem, that fuel should power the main activity driver, which is every single time a contract is created. So if you look at this is maybe too deep into like the technicality of it, but if you look at what Myriad actually is, it is an entire code repo of smart contracts that allow for people to be able to place bets and to do it securely and to have sufficient liquidity. And really, there's an opportunity here for this to be an ERC standard in and of itself. Like, we could file an EIP application today and say, this is how this and these various ERC standards need to be, contracts need to be standardized so that other people can use them and proliferate. When we call certain functions, say primarily the creation of a new market, and we have a native fuel, in theory, the creation of that market should require the usage of that fuel. Now, when we have a future world where there's 1 million people who are creating their own predictions, whether it's amongst their friend chat, where 6 people are going to participate, or 6,000 people or 600,000 people are going to participate, in theory, there should be a fee associated with creating that prediction, and it should be in the native fuel, right? Like, that is for lack of a better word, the gas of the ecosystem. So,
awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. One more thing that's related to that, and then Cookie, I'll let you have your last words here as well. And I didn't catch it if you did say it, but I know that we're the tokens, the points now are going to be converted to USDC, right? So people will actually be using real money to predict. Is that a false statement?
So, yeah. So right now we have points, and the point system is a way for us to understand, is a way for us to quantify the engagement. So really quickly, like, another thing that people don't realize is you see a leaderboard and it's like sum of points, and it's like, this is a leaderboard. The way that we are evaluating impact and engagement in the ecosystem isn't based off of just that. We're tracking like 27 unique different variables in engagement, what we call internally engagement qualifiers. And some of them are weighted differently than others. We will have USDC markets coming very soon. And when those USDC markets, these are real money markets,
right?
That will be like, there will be points that when you participate in real money markets versus the play money, just points markets, there'll be different weights that are associated with that as well. The plan is we will always have real money markets, which are, we'll say USDC and USDC equivalents, markets and other ERC tokens. And we will always have a play money market available, which allows people to basically participate in the polling without having any financial, on the table. And that gives us the ability to do a number of different things, like talk to and work with major brands, some of these conversations have been, hey, we love the idea of prediction markets. However, like we can't be associated with like the gambling perception of prediction markets, but we want to run these community competitions. We want to do X, Y, or Z, and we want to inject capital into the ecosystem, you know, for marketing, and we want to give prizes to users. How do we do that? Well, we have this really great tool that is these play money markets. So over time, these products will exist in parallel. Eventually, you know, the points and the way that we are gauging the way that we're measuring engagement from user to user there will be some you know some very apparent outcomes for that, and you know and there will be a lot of people who are very glad that they played the game.
Okay, awesome. One more thing, because I just want to ask you a million questions, man. Okay, so because this is important too, I think, you know, with marketing, if I'm a business and I see your business and I'm trying to get into the Web3 aspect of things because I don't understand it. I'm Macy's, I'm a big brand. I don't know, like I'm a huge brand of in Web2, okay? AT&T, whatever, it doesn't matter. I want to come to you and I want to say, listen, man, we need engagement. We'll pay for this, for the advertising. We'll pay the advertising money, but we want to get some engagement. So we need, you know, so you know how you have your, you know, like and retweet or listen for 5 minutes. I don't know if that's part of it anymore. It used to be in the beta, you know, when you had to listen to the show for at least a minimum of 5 minutes to get points. Okay. But these certain things, is Myriad Markets doors open to that, to advertisers so they can get pay for the engagement?
There is, and there are, you know, there's some through our questing platform and all that. There's some very unique like CTAs that we can do, right? Like we can call people to action that increase engagement. It could be, hey, you know, maybe Kraken comes to us and says, hey, we want to get you guys, like we want access to your users. We want them to use us versus Coinbase. And we say, okay, cool. You know, let's put a CTA in there. Let's do this. Let's have, you know, let's have a series of predictions. We do this in multiple ways. A series of predictions around the price of Bitcoin. And let's say, is Bitcoin going to open, you know, higher on March 1st than it did on February 1st, right? And we can even do day by day. Is the daily candle red? Is the daily candle green? It can be very binary, very monkey see, monkey push button, right? Mm-hmm. These markets brought to you by Kraken. By the way, if you want a multiplier or a bonus, or you want a Myriad token, or you want whatever it is, right? Sign up for an account on Kraken. Follow Kraken on Twitter, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, boom, 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 boom. And then people can choose. Do they want to engage in that? Do they want to sign up for a Kraken account? Great. Yeah. And if not, then it doesn't matter. Meanwhile, you guys, Farouk, whoever else is running shows and saying, you know, we're running these markets, by the way, sponsored by Kraken. Kraken brought to us these, you know, these are the 3 Kraken markets that are being, okay, fantastic, boom. And so they're getting, that's exactly it. They're getting the brand awareness. They're getting the CTA. They're getting all of it. It just becomes more integrated, and it's less of just like a banner that everyone's just going to ignore. It's a way to get people deeper engaged. And then this goes even further, right? It's like super World Cup markets. We're talking with Nike. We're talking Gatorade. We're talking
Formula One.
Well, let's hold Formula One for another time, and I'll tell you all. And I'll tell you all about that.
The relationship with Williams, so, and that leads to another, you know, and Kraken. So it's just, okay.
We got, and beyond that, a lot of big Formula One stuff coming up with the Dastan team in Formula One. So,
awesome. Yeah. All right, man. So Loxley, man, I'm feel blessed that, you know, have you on the show and to know you has been a true honor and a pleasure, man. So thank you again. Cookie, I'm gonna let you you know, if you had anything left that you wanted to ask, and then I'll end the show.
I just wanted to immensely thank you, Loxley. Watching you move in this space and just your demeanor as a human being are very it's a good gauge. I learn a lot and I'm inspired a lot by you and your whole crew. Farouk, man, just great people. You can tell the genuineness is there. Bury all the business and smarts that you guys have as well too, but you're just good people, and I feel blessed as well to have just kind of fallen into shit by being able to interact with this team on any level. So thank you.
You know what? Thank you guys. Honestly, like our biggest thing in the whole, you know, from day one is how do we surround ourselves with people who are not only trying to improve themselves, but trying to improve other people around them, and give people opportunity to increase their knowledge and and literally like their opportunity. It's like wealth is where opportunity and knowledge meet each other, right? And it's like, if we can do that, which is why like the R House things are so important. It's like, it was awesome, like for you guys to come out and for you to participate and just like be around with the crew. You guys saw it. The number of people that were there who are movers and shakers and doing things is higher concentration than like anywhere else that you can get. And you have like the Eric Snowfroes of the world, and Joe Lubin, who's hanging out at the house and coming through. It's like co-founder of Ethereum, and there's not the door's open and it's free to anyone who wants to come to any of the R House events, right? And so for me, what I tell people is, Farouk shows up every day. You guys show up every day. All the people in the Rug Radio, Decrypt Network, the content creators, providing knowledge for free to people on an everyday basis. Then where's the second half of the equation? Knowledge plus opportunity. If you can make it to any of our events, which we host all around the world, like major cities all over the place, come and join our events. If someone were to walk into our house and find me and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm super interested in generative art, and I'm an aspiring artist, want to do X, Y, Z. Is that Eric Snowfro over there? And I'm like, yeah, that's Eric. And they're like, can you introduce me? 100%. I'm never going to say no, right? Like, my job is to provide people with knowledge and opportunity, because that combination is how we create freedom, right? How we create wealth. And so like, huge thank you to you guys for doing what you do, for showing up, hanging out with us, being with us. The biggest regret at the end of every year, at the end of every event, the biggest regret that I have is that I'm pulled in so many directions and I don't get to spend enough time with the people that I want to spend time with. And, we had a chance to chat. I had a chance to sit down and chat with Miss Hennessy, right? Like, but those moments are so small and they're so fleeting. And I always kind of feel like shit that I like don't have more time to spend with you guys. So I apologize for that, but we really appreciate you guys being there.
Yeah, no, for us, it was great because we got a chance to hang out with you the day before the festivities really begun. So we had like an extended period of conversation with you, which was great, because it really does. Like, I agree with you. It sucks when you're talking to somebody of importance and they're getting pulled in different directions because they have to. It's not because they really, really want to. It's like they need to go and do what they got to do because you got to schmooze, that's really part of it, And
we got to keep, like, I don't know if you guys saw, trying to keep the cops out of the party and trying to keep the party open is always a battle too, right? Like, there's always some code complaint. Yeah. Someone.
That's another reason why people should be very bullish right there. They bring the cops to the parties. Recognize, motherfuckers.
We bring the cops to the parties. We make them stay outside, but we bring the cops to the parties.
Oh, man. F the police. All right. Anyways, look, Lox, again, thank you. Greatly appreciated. Everybody, this has been a true treat for Rug Radio fans, Myriad Market, people that are just involved in Web3 and the blockchain and want to know more about Rug Radio. Please go, DY, do your own research. I'm not going to give you the acronym. You know what it is. Go check out Rug Radio. Go check out Decrypt Media. Go sign up at Myriad Markets. I think it's myriad.markets. Go do it. It will be the best thing that you do. If you've been in Web3 and you've been on, doing this for, since at least 2021, and you've been in a lot of projects that have been rugged, no pun intended to Rug Radio, but Rug Radio is quite the opposite of rugging anybody or anything. They're true builders, and I'm proud to be part of the fam with them. I'm excited for the future. So once again, thank you, everybody. This is Jus Riffin. Loxley, thank you again. J6, Cookie Rabinowitz, thank you again. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Jus Riffin. Tuesday night, 8:30 EST. Know where we be. Jus Riffin. Special guest and tech and talk. A musicology. Jus Riffin. Coming to you live at the same time. Here every week. Jus Riffin. Jump in the room. Let's chop it up. It really ain't that deep. Jus Riffin.